Hi, I'm Sydney, and today we are going to be learning about angles, parallel lines, and transversals. So let's say I have a line segment CD and another line segment EF. Both of these lines go on forever and are on the same plane. In this case, the plane is the screen. If you look and see, these lines never intersect. This is because if you were to think about it like a graph, they have the same slope but different y-intercepts. These pair of lines are called parallel because they never intersect and they are on the same plane. We can write they are parallel by writing line segment CD is parallel. We can write parallel by writing this to line segment EF. Now we're going to say there's a line that intersects these parallel lines. This is a transversal and we'll label this L. A transversal is a line that intersects at least two other lines. So if we go back to our other example, I'm now going to explain alternate exterior and interior angles. So the angles located here are exterior angles because they are located outside of the parallel lines, while the angles located inside here are interior angles because they are located inside of the parallel lines. Keeping this in mind, know that all alternate exterior angles are congruent and all alternate interior angles are congruent. So in this case, this angle would be congruent to this angle because they are alternating angles located outside of the parallel lines. So again, we call this alternate exterior angles. And this angle right here would be located to this angle because there are alternating angles located inside of the parallel lines. So again, we call this alternate interior angles. So vertical and corresponding angles are also congruent. I'm now going to give you another example, this time explaining vertical and corresponding angles. So if we start with angle D, its vertical angle would be angle A because they are vertical to each other. We can write this by saying angle D is congruent to angle A. Now, if we had angle F, its vertical angle would be angle G because they are located vertically from each other. Now, just by looking, we can see that angle A and angle E are congruent. They are obviously not vertical angles and they're not alternate exterior or interior angles. Instead, they are called corresponding angles. So angle D and angle H are corresponding angles because they are correspondent or essentially matching on the plane. So I'm now going to give you another example, and this time we're going to work through finding alternate interior and exterior angles, vertical angles, and corresponding angles. So now if we're looking at angle L and angle S are one example of alternate exterior angles because they are alternating angles located outside of the parallel lines. So angle O and angle P can be examples of alternate interior angles because they are alternating angles located inside of the parallel lines. An example of vertical angles can be angle M and angle N because they are located vertically from each other. And an example of corresponding angles can be angle L and angle P. So now I'm going to make a mini version of our parallel lines and transversal. So if I were to switch the transversal, so it created different angles. The same angles will still be congruent. So the same vertical angles will still be congruent, the same alternate exterior angles will still be congruent, the same alternate interior angles will still be congruent, and the same corresponding angles will still be congruent. So even if I change the transversal, so I'm creating different angles, the same angles are still going to be congruent. So I'm going to give you guys one last example, and this time we're going to be using numbers. So if I had two angles, one angle is 91 degrees and another angle is 89 degrees, we're now going to label the rest of the angles. So if we had 89 degrees right here, its vertical angle would be over here. So this angle right here is 89 degrees. And its corresponding angle would be over here. So this is again 89 degrees. And again, if we're looking, the alternate exterior angle of 89 over here would be over here. And then its corresponding angle to 89 degrees over here is over here. Now, if we wanted to find where 91 degrees is, we can see that the corresponding angle to 91 would be over here. And the alternate interior angle to 91 degrees can then be over here. And we can see that the vertical angle to 91 over here is over here. So this is 91 degrees here. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you all have learned a lot about angles, parallel lines, and transversals.